At the end of this topic, you will be able to draw the structure of skin, brief the part of the integumentary system skin, identify the 3 layers of skin, list the functions of skin. Skin is an integumentary system that is highly essential to protect internal organs and prevent the entrance of pathogens. The 3 major tissues of the skin are epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. Epidermis is the upper and outermost layer of the skin. It consists of flat, thin, and scale-like dead cells. It is separated from the dermis by basement membrane. It contains melanocytes giving color to the skin. The deepest layers of epidermis have the nerve endings. The dermis is the middle layer. It is thick and elastic. It consists of nerves, blood vessels, hair follicles, sweat glands, and sebaceous glands, otherwise called as oil glands. The sweat glands separate sweat from the blood. The sebaceous glands secrete sebum, which keeps the skin smooth and shiny. The erectopili is the smooth muscle necessary to move the hair. Hypodermis is the lowermost layers, which contains large amount of adipose tissue. Skin protects the internal organs of our body. It prevents the entrance of infectious agents. It reduces water loss. Skin regulates the body temperature. Skin can prepare vitamin D with the help of sunlight. It allows us to feel touch, pain, and temperature. Skin acts as an excretory organ and excretes sweat. In this topic, you have learnt skin is the outer covering of internal organs. Structure of skin is divided into 3 layers: dermis, epidermis, and hypodermis. Skin acts as an excretory organ as it excretes out the waste. Adipose tissue is the site of storage of fat. At the end of this topic, you will be able to describe muscular system, list different types of muscles, cite the importance and functions of muscular system. Movements are affected by muscles. Muscle movement is more powerful and energetic. Human body contains 700 to 800 muscles. Based on the structure, function, and occurrence, 3 different types of muscle tissues have been identified. They are the skeletal, cardiac, and visceral muscles. Skeletal muscles move and support the skeleton. A skeletal muscle links 2 bones across its connecting joint. When these muscles contract or shorten, the bones move. Skeletal muscles can be consciously controlled. There are 640 individual skeletal muscles that account for about 50% of our body weight. Skeletal muscles are voluntary muscles anchored by tendons to bones and are covered by a sheet of connective tissue called fascia. Tendons are connective tissue with slight elasticity in nature. They are strongly attached to bones like cords or straps. The tensile strength of tendons is nearly half that of steel. A tendon having 10 mm diameter can support 600 to 1000 kgs. Fascia is an assemblage of connective tissue lining skeletal muscles as membranous sheets. The fascia may be superficial or deep. The superficial fascia is a layer of loose connective tissue found in between skin and muscles. The deep fascia is collagen fibers found as a tough, inelastic sheath around the musculature. They run between groups of muscles and connect with the bones. There are 5 different sets of muscles in our body: muscles of the head, muscles of the neck, muscles of the trunk region, muscles of the upper limb, muscles of the lower limb. Muscles are responsible for locomotion. It provides beautiful shape to our body. The inner smooth muscles of the visceral organs make them work like a machine all through our life. Facial expressions like smiling, crying, shocked are voluntary movements made by more than 30 different muscles. Although they are voluntary, we often make these movements without our knowledge. 4 important thoracic muscles are associated with the process of breathing. The process of inspiration is due to scalene and external intercostal muscles. The expiration is performed due to internal intercostal muscles and transverse thoracis. Major breathing movement is due to diaphragm, a curved musculofibrous sheath that separates thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity. Here are some of the important muscles, their positions and their functions. Trapezius muscle, found at the upper back and each side of the neck, aids in the upper pulling movement. At the shoulder, there is a deltoid that helps to raise arms. Pectorals at the chest of the human body helps to push the arm forward and also aids in lowering the arm. Latissimus dorsi, widest and most powerful muscle of the back, draws the upper arm downward and backward and rotates it inward. Biceps at front portion of upper arm is responsible for bending of the arm and in twisting. Triceps at the back of the arm helps in straightening of the upper arm. Calves at the lower leg between ankle and knee help to raise the toes and also to lower the toes. Quadriceps at the front of the thighs responds to walk, run, jump and squatting. In this topic, you have learnt there are about 700 different muscles in our body. Skeletal muscles are anchored by tendon to the bones. Sheet of connective tissue lining the skeletal muscles are called as fascia. Muscular system is responsible for the locomotion. At the end of the topic, you will be able to define skeletal system, explain the axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton, describe skull, thoracic activity, rib cage and vertebral column, outline the role of upper and lower limb, list out the functions of bones. The skeletal system consists of bones, cartilages and ligaments. It is a frame on which all organs are arranged. The bones can be long, short, flat or irregular in shape. The human skeletal system is divided into two categories: the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton. Axial skeleton is the upright axis of the body. It consists of skull, hyoid bones, vertebral column and thoracic cage. Skull is divided into head bones and facial bones. There are 8 head bones and 14 facial bones. Totally, the skull consists of 22 bones. Skull provides support to the organ of vision, hearing, smell and taste. Cranium is made of 8 flat bones joined with immovable joints. They aid in the protection of the brain. At the base of the skull, there is a large opening. This opening leads the medulla oblongata to continue as the spinal cord. Hyoid bone is the small U-shaped bone found in the muscles of a human neck. It is the only bone that is not connected to any other bone in the human body. It allows human beings to speak and supports the tongue. It helps to raise the larynx during actions like talking and swallowing. The vertebrae make up slight S-shaped vertebral column or backbone. The backbone consists of 33 vertebrae which are divided into 5 regions: cervical vertebrae, thoracic vertebrae, lumbar vertebrae, sacral vertebrae and coccygeal vertebrae. The sacral 5 bones are joined together to form one bone and the coccygeal 4 bones joined together to form another bone. So the total vertebrae in the backbone are actually 26. The thoracic cavity consists of 3 different types of bones. The front portion has a single bone named sternum. The back portion has a long vertebral column. Both the bones are connected by ribs on the lateral side. There are 12 pairs of ribs. Each articulates with a thoracic vertebra. In the front, the first 7 are directly attached with sternum. They are called the true ribs. Cartilages of the 8th, 9th and 10th are fused and attached to the sternum indirectly. They are called false ribs. 11th and 12th pairs are not attached to the sternum. They are called floating ribs. Appendicular skeleton consists of pectoral girdle and the upper limb, that is the hands, pelvic girdle and the lower limb, legs. Upper limb or hands. Hands are attached to the pectoral girdle. Each pectoral girdle has a pair of scapula or shoulder bones and a clavicle or collarbone. The long bone of the upper arm is humerus. The distal end of the upper arm articulates with 2 forearm bones named ulna and radius. Wrist consists of 8 carpals arranged in 2 rows. The framework of the hand is formed of 5 metacarpals. Each hand has 5 digits. They include 1 thumb and 4 fingers. Each digit has small long bones called phalanges. The thumb has 2 phalanges and each finger has 3 phalanges. The pelvic girdle and leg.
The pelvic girdle is a ring of bones in the hip region formed by sacrum and paired bones called coxae or hip bones. Each coxa is formed by the fusion of three bones, namely ilium, ischium and pubis. The thigh region contains the longest bone called femur. The distal end of the femur has connection with the lower limb, tibia and fibula. The knee region has a large flat bone called the patella. The ankle consists of 7 tarsal bones. The ankle articulates with tibia and fibula through teres. Foot is formed by metatarsals and phalanges. They correspond to the metacarpals and phalanges of the hand. The human body consists of 206 bones from the skeletal system. Out of 206 bones, 80 are from axial skeleton and 126 are from the appendicular skeleton. The organ-wise split up is shown in the table and illustrated in the image shown. Bones are the place where muscles are attached, helps in holding the weight of the body, gives protection to the inner organs, aids in locomotion, serves as a reservoir for calcium and fat. Red blood corpuscles are produced in the bone marrow. In this topic, you have learnt bones, cartilage and ligaments together constitute the skeletal system. Axial skeleton consists of skull, hyoid bones, vertebral column and thoracic cage. Appendicular skeleton consists of pectoral girdle, upper limbs, pelvic girdle and lower limbs. In appendicular skeleton, pectoral girdle is present in the hand. Thigh region has a longest bone called femur and knee region consists of a large flat bone called patella. There are 28 bones in the skull, 26 in the vertebral column and 25 in the thoracic region. Bones help to move, serve as a reservoir for calcium and fat, and protects the inner organs. Red blood corpuscles are produced in the bone marrow.
At the end of this topic, you will be able to identify the parts of the digestive system, name and describe the location of the organs of the digestive system and their major parts, describe the functions of the digestive system, describe the structure and general functions of each digestive organ, describe the mechanism of swallowing, explain how the products of digestion are absorbed and released. Eating is a major part of daily life for all animals and human beings. Food provides energy to the body, but this is not in the form to be directly used. Food has to be broken down into substances so that the body can use it. The process of breaking down food is called digestion, and the various organs that assist in digestion constitute the digestive system. There are two forms of digestion. They are mechanical digestion and chemical digestion. Physical tearing and grinding refers to the mechanical digestion. In chemical digestion, enzymes help to chemically break down food into simpler substances. Food travels through the body along the gastrointestinal tract called the alimentary canal. The alimentary canal is a tube that is about 9 meters long, which begins with the lips where food enters the body and ends with the anus where solid wastes are expelled. The important parts of the alimentary canal are the mouth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum and anus. The mouth is the place where food is ground into pieces and prepared for delivery to the stomach. It then enters the pharynx or throat. The pharynx is a muscular funnel that pushes the chewed food into the esophagus. The mouth area has salivary glands, teeth and tongue. Mouse over on the salivary glands, teeth and tongue to know more about them. The salivary glands secrete saliva, which is a mixture of water, enzymes and a protein called mucin. They are released into the mouth to moisten the food. The enzyme called ptyalin is present in saliva. Enzymes that are present in the saliva interact with food particles and start the process of chemical digestion. The tongue is a muscular organ that drills food around while chewing. It mixes the food with the saliva to form a wet lump called a bolus. The top and sides of the tongue are covered with little projections called papillae, which contain taste buds. In the oral cavity, 4 types of teeth are present. They are the incisors, the canines, molars and premolars. They are arranged 2 by 2, 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3 in the upper and lower jaws. The incisors and canines are designed to tear foods, while the premolars and molars in the back grind food. The pharynx is a funnel-like structure which opens into the esophagus. The food that is partly digested in the oral cavity is pushed into the esophagus with the help of the tongue. This process is called swallowing. When food enters the esophagus, muscular contractions called peristalsis occurs that pushes and pulls the food into the stomach. Mucus secretions in the esophagus keep the lump of food or bolus sliding along. Stomach. The stomach area is muscular, expandable, and a J-shaped pouch. It holds the food, digests, and extracts the nutrients. When food enters the stomach, its muscular wall contracts and churns the food with powerful gastric acids that kill the bacteria and break down proteins. The result is a creamy substance called chyme, which the stomach releases into the small intestine at regular intervals. Click the highlighted area to know more.
Liver is the largest glandular organ in humans. It weighs about 1,500 grams. It contains two unequal lobes. The right lobe is larger. Liver secretes bile juice, which is greenish-yellow in color. The bile is temporarily stored in gallbladder. The gallbladder is attached to the bile duct. The duct opens into the duodenum. Bile juice helps the digestion of fat. It does not have any enzyme. It has bile salts and bile pigments. Click to know more. Pancreas is a long, leaf-shaped gland located just below the stomach. Pancreas secrete pancreatic juice and it is connected with the duodenum through pancreatic duct. Pancreas act both as an exocrine gland and endocrine gland. The gland's upper surface bears the islets of Langerhans. The islets of Langerhans are endocrine in nature and secrete the hormones glucagon and insulin. As an exocrine gland, it secretes trypsin, chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidase, amylase and lipase.
Depending on their size, the intestinal region is divided into the large intestine and the small intestine. Click on highlighted areas to know more. The small intestine is a muscular structure that begins with the duodenum. The duodenum leads to the jejunum, and the jejunum ends in the ileum. Click on each of the highlighted text one by one to know them in detail. The duodenum is the first portion of the small intestine, which is U-shaped. It receives enzyme secretions from the liver and pancreas, and most of the chemical digestion takes place in this spot. This is the long coiled middle portion of the small intestine that stretches from the duodenum to the ileum. The ileum is the final portion of the small intestine where remaining nutrients are absorbed and utilized. The area of the large intestine is divided into ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, rectum and anus. The walls of the large intestine absorb the remaining water present in the food. Undigested food becomes fecal matter. Click on the word rectum and anus one by one to know more about them. Rectum. The rectum is about 12 centimeters long. It sits just above the anal canal. Feces are stored here briefly prior to defecation. Anus. This ring of muscles is the external opening of the rectum through which fecal matter is expelled. Peristaltic waves in the colon and contraction of the abdominal muscles trigger defecation. Summary. In this topic, you have learnt the alimentary canal begins with the lips and ends with the anus. The important parts of the alimentary canal are mouth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum and anus. Swallowing is the process where the food that is partly digested in the oral cavity is pushed into the esophagus with the help of the tongue. When food enters the esophagus, muscular contractions called peristalsis occur that pushes and pulls the food into the stomach. The muscular wall of the stomach contracts and churns the food with powerful gastric acids that kill the bacteria and break down proteins. Duodenum is the first portion of the small intestine which is U-shaped. Jejunum is the long coiled middle portion of the small intestine that stretches from the duodenum to the ileum. The ileum is the final portion of the small intestine where remaining nutrients are absorbed and utilized. The area of the large intestine is divided into ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, rectum and anus.
At the end of the topic, you will be able to define the term excretion, describe the human urinary system, list the functions of kidneys, draw the structure of nephron.
Excretion, definition and significance. Definition. Excretion is the elimination of wastes that are formed during the metabolism of various substances in the body. Significance. The main substances excreted are nitrogenous substances like ammonia, urea, and uric acid. Nitrogenous wastes are formed during the metabolism of amino acids and nucleic acids. Excess water, certain salts, and organic substances are also excreted along with these. The main purpose of excretion is to maintain ionic balance in the body. If the metabolic wastes are not discharged from the body, they become toxic and harm the body.
The urinary system consists of the kidneys, ureters, urinary bladder, and urethra. The kidneys filter the blood to remove waste and produce urine. Kidneys are a pair of dark red bean-shaped organs placed behind the abdomen on each side of the vertebral column. The average adult kidney measures about 12 centimeters in length, 6 centimeters in width, and 3 centimeters in thickness. The outer surface of the kidney is convex and the inner surface is concave, and it faces the vertebral column. The right kidney is just lower than that of the left kidney because the right side of the body is occupied by the liver. Each kidney is covered by a fibrous membrane called capsule. 2 ureters connect the kidneys with urinary bladder. It is sac-like in shape and acts as a temporary storage organ of urine. Urine entering the urinary bladder from the ureters slowly fills the hollow space inside the bladder. Urine is expelled through the urethra to the outside.
Structure of the human excretory system. The kidneys are bean-shaped and red-colored organs. They are attached to the dorsal body wall on either side of the vertebral column in the abdominal cavity. The outer margin of each kidney is convex and the inner margin is concave. There is a notch present on the inner margin. It is called hilus. The renal artery enters the kidney through the hilus, and the renal vein leaves the kidney through the hilus. The renal artery brings pure blood from the heart to the kidney. The renal vein carries impure blood from the kidney to the heart. There are 2 ureters. The anterior part of the ureters is wide. It is called the pelvis. The ureters open into the urinary bladder. Urine is sent out through the urethra. Longitudinal section of human kidney. The longitudinal section of the kidney shows 2 important parts. They are the cortex and the medulla. The outer region of the kidney is called the cortex. It is deep red in color. The inner region is called the medulla. It is light red in color. There are 9 to 12 pyramid-like structures in the medulla. They are called renal pyramids. They have their broad base towards the cortex and their narrow end towards the pelvis. They extend into the pelvis. The broad end of each pyramid is branched and appears to be in the form of a sepal. Hence, they are called calyces. Through calyces, urine reaches funnel-like ducts and from there go into the pelvis. From the pelvis, urine enters the ureters. Structure of a nephron. Nephrons are the structural and functional units of the human excretory system. These are actually responsible for the formation of urine. There are about 2 lakhs of nephrons in the human kidneys. Each nephron has 2 portions. They are Bowman's capsule, tubular portion. Bowman's capsule is a cup-like structure and it has 2 layers. Inside the cup of Bowman's capsule, there is a network of capillaries called the glomerulus. The renal artery, after entering the kidney, divides into a number of arterioles. The tubular portion of the nephron has 3 parts. They are proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, distal convoluted tubule. The distal convoluted tubule of the nephron open into the collecting tubules. Formation of urine. When the blood flows through the capillaries of the glomerulus, it gets filtered through the pores in the walls of the capillaries. Blood pressure provides the required pressure for this filtration. All the water-soluble substances are filtered from the blood. This filtration is called ultrafiltration. When the filtrate reaches the proximal convoluted tubule, the epithelial cells of the tubule reabsorb several substances in a selective manner and transport them back to the blood. Reabsorption of water and salts also occurs in the loop of Henle and in distal convoluted tubule. Unabsorbed substances, along with water, enter the collecting duct, which discharges urine into the pelvis and then into the ureter.
It excretes nitrogenous waste, urea, formed as a result of protein metabolism. It helps to maintain the fluid and electrolyte balance of our body. It helps to regulate acid-base balance of the body. It helps to maintain osmotic pressure in blood and tissue. It helps to retain important plasma constituents like glucose and amino acids.
In this topic, you have learned
the urinary system consists of the kidneys, ureters, urinary bladder, and urethra. The kidneys filter the blood to remove waste and produce urine. Kidneys are made up of millions of nephrons, which are the structural and functional units of the kidneys. The glomerulus is a network of blood capillaries formed by the branches of the wider afferent renal arteriole. Uriniferous tubules is divided into 3 portions as the initial coiled proximal convoluted tubule, the middle U-shaped Henle's loop, and the later coiled distal convoluted tubule. Kidneys excrete nitrogenous waste or urea formed as a result of protein metabolism.